Welcome everybody. This is AAU Talks on AAU TV. Today we are looking at managing learning, teaching, and research during COVID-19. We all know that students, parents, and researchers and educators around the world are feeling the ripple effects of coronavirus pandemics. Our schools are currently shut down and quarantine methods put in place. Whilst government officials and health officials are doing their best to resolve the whole issue of slowing down the outbreak, global education experts and then individuals in academia are collaborating to collectively respond and provide quality education for all during these difficult times. Today, we have a global expert who will enlighten us on how to manage teaching, learning, and research during and after COVID-19. Welcome, Professor Peter Quartey to AAU Talks on Education.
Thank you very much, and greetings to your discerning viewers.
Okay. Professor Peter Quartey is the former head of Economics Department, University of Ghana, and currently he is the director of Institute of Statistical, Social, and Economic Research, also at the University of Ghana. Professor Peter Quartey has provided expert opinions on how to safely resume to academics during this pandemic. We are glad to have Professor Peter Quartey on this online meeting to discuss some few items on how to manage teaching, learning, and research during COVID-19. Prof, let's begin with, broadly, how would you contextualize the effect of the pandemic on teaching, learning, and research, especially for Africa?
COVID-19 have caught all of us off guard. I believe we're ill prepared, and it gives us a signal that anytime we plan, we should have a strategy for any shock. And I don't think we have prepared for shocks in our planning. We often plan there's not going to be any shock or minimal shock. But now, going forward, we need to plan our educational system and also plan for a pandemic, not just very simple shocks. It's really impacted on education in the sense that because we're ill prepared, most schools have to be closed down without any long-term notice. The notice was very short, and schools had to basically terminate or end their teaching and learning activities. But then I must say, in as much as it brought education to a standstill initially, it also gave the opportunity for people, teachers, learners to re-strategize. We've had ICT with us for a very long time. I don't think we've taken advantage of the ICT environment. We just use very limited part of it. But now we're seeing the need to use ICT, virtual, and it's very good. So not just for teaching, also for assignments. Now we've seen teachers upgrading their skills on how to teach virtually, how to give assignments and mark online using classroom platform and many others. Whereas in the past, we were used to the paper trail where children are made to copy homework, what have you, answer them and turn them in untyped. Now we've seen children typing, we've seen teachers preparing PowerPoint slides. We've seen many ways of communicating, teaching, learning, and I think it's good. So it's had negative impact in some ways, but I think many schools are catching up, many countries are catching up. The only challenge is that internet connectivity, ICT, hasn't reached every corner in Africa. So you find that it is the cities that are benefiting from this new ways of teaching and learning, whereas the villages and other corners of our society are suffering. Radio, for instance, but how effective is radio? You cannot ask your teacher questions. You can just only listen and then write notes. And I think that that is a big challenge for us and for our planners, for our leaders and authorities, that as they plan to do, they should bear in mind that there are some rural, majority of our friends, brothers, and sisters living in rural areas who do not have access to electricity, do not have access to internet connectivity, and would have to be reached at some point in time.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Now, it seems government is gradually easing the restrictions on COVID-19. So gradually, some of the universities are resuming face-to-face lessons, whilst some are also calling for continuation of online teaching and learning. What advice would you give to your faculty in this time that we are gradually easing onto the face-to-face teaching and learning?
Well, yes, we are easing the face-to-face, but I find quite a number of the universities or academic institutions um, still continue with virtual learning. If you take University of Ghana, for instance, they were very far advanced. University was far advanced in its virtual teaching and learning. They were close to starting the examination. The the schools where schools were asked to resume. So they, of course, they are continuing because it's very effective. Except that, as I mentioned earlier, there are some members of the university who could not have access, or students who could not have access to internet connectivity. So they could come to campus to have a face-to-face teaching and learning. Who had access to online teaching and are very fine with that. And I believe they will continue the exams. Um, to my colleagues, I think I would urge them to continue to practice all the safety protocols, whilst also ensuring that they deliver teaching and learning via the uh, virtual platform, as well as those that require face-to-face teaching. Um, if you have to do face-to-face teaching, ensure that uh, adequate safety first. So
Okay.
you should be, the students should be safe as well, and so that we deliver this and we don't spread the virus in this period, because the virus moves when we move.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Prof, let's look at what the COVID-19 has done to research. You know, the COVID-19 has put, it kept a freeze on research activities. Scientists and researchers couldn't visit their labs anymore. They couldn't have access to their tools. In humanities, those who conduct research using human subjects were cut off from having access to their human subjects to even continuing with their research. You are the director of one of the biggest research institutes in Africa. What has been the effect of this COVID-19 on your researchers, their activities? And what are some of the recommendations going forward, resuming research activities? What do you say we put in place?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're all off guard, so we're ill prepared for this. Initially, our institutions were shut down. We couldn't conduct research. Many research institutions could not continue. Some contracts that were signed had to be abrogated, others have to be put on hold, which had implications for revenue and for many other activities, even employment. Contract staff or temporary staff all have to be sent home or asked to wait. You know. So it has really affected research institutions. It's also affected research activities. But gradually, things are easing, and you find that um, researchers are using uh, a virtual means, for instance. So you can use telephone to interview, where possible, interview your respondents. You can use virtual means to correct or write papers, get things corrected. You can use virtual means even to organize focus group discussions. You can use virtual means to hold workshops and conferences. So I think technology has minimized the effects of COVID-19. Had it not been the existence of technology, it would have been shut down completely. But with technology, some of our activities are still ongoing. We are still undertaking some surveys. We are still undertaking some online communication activities. And I believe going forward, it's even taught us to move some of the things we do virtual. So some interviews, you don't have to, we usually travel all the corners of this country to collect data. I believe now, where necessary, you don't have to travel. You can use telephone, you can use Zoom, you can use other means of um, communicating with key informants. So if I need to speak to somebody at the Ministry of Finance or any of the relevant ministries, I just have to organize a Zoom meeting and then I obtain all the information I needed. Yesterday, I engaged Bank of Ghana. A couple of weeks ago, I had interview with some colleagues in the UK, and um, we were basically interviewing farmers in India, for instance. I mean, so you can imagine if we have to interview farmers in Asia while we sit in our comfort zones, tells you that it's not all that uh, doomed for us. There are opportunities, and technology is helping us overcome these limitations.
So thank you, Prof. Prof, right now we are looking at faculty role change. This COVID-19, like you mentioned, came at a time that we were not prepared. Are there any structures that needs to be put in place, which previously was not in place in terms of faculty arrangement, the functionalities of faculty and everything, now that we've seen that research can be done or activities can still continue doing using the internet or probably online? What will change in terms of faculty arrangement and faculty roles?
Well, what will change will be for faculty not to be physically present in their respective offices every day. They could work from home. So we avoid crowding in the office space. Once technology is available, you could do that. And as for the various media, we have it already. University of Ghana has all the platforms that we can use to do some of these things. So it's just a matter of faculty uh, using the available resources
Okay.
to do it. And I think going forward, we'll try that we use more of the available online resources to undertake our activities.
Okay, Prof. Finally, uh, right now there are a lot of tips concerning technology to be used. There are a lot of advice. There are a lot of tools. There are a lot of resources that people have recommended, especially transitioning from face-to-face online, face-to-face teaching and learning research to the online activities. But how do we know how or know which ones really work, especially in the context of Africa? We are looking at the role of research here, Prof.
Well, in our country, there are several of them, several of them, but the ones that are commonly used, people use telephone interview. I mean, we all have mobile phones. Mobile phone penetration is very high in Africa. So if you use your mobile phones and make phone calls and conduct research or teaching, you can also use Zoom has also come quite up speed recently. So, and I'm told the security features of Zoom has been enhanced quite well. So we use Zoom. Microsoft Teams, prefer Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
They believe everything Microsoft has tried and tested security. So, Microsoft Teams is there for people to use. One could also use the Google platforms, uh, Google Classroom, Hangout, and many other software that are available in the Google platform. With Google Classroom, you can set questions, you can mark, there's so much one can do over there. whilst you want to do interactive teaching, you can use the Hangout or use the Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Some even use WhatsApp. I don't really recommend
Yeah.
for teaching, but there are various ways of teaching.
Okay. So, Prof, finally, before you leave, what policy recommendation would you want to give? Is there anything that needs to change at the top to accommodate the new normal that we are in?
Yeah, I think we should invest more in technology. We should equip our students with technology, with equipment that they require. Um, I believe the universities going forward would have to sign some kind of agreement or memorandum of understanding with, let's say, um, uh, um, uh, a laptop manufacturing, one of those tech companies that they could the guy of this every student has a laptop that could be so at use price maybe can come in and say no tax on as soon as you register in any education of higher, tertiary education or with a secondary education, you should have some of this equipment with you because that is the way to go. It is efficient, less costly, and you get the quickest and maximum returns out of that. For me, the policy change will be for government to promote use of this equipment, the use of technology, the use of ICT in learning, in teaching and learning. That will be a major policy shift I expect.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Peter Quartey, for joining us today on AAU Talks on Education. You've provided us a lot of insight on how to respond to COVID-19. I think subsequently we will get in touch for more advice on how we'll be able to manage teaching, research, and learning. We are in the process of transitioning, and along the line, we know we will come back to you for your expert advice. Thank you very much for your time and being with us on AAU Talk.
My pleasure.
All right.
All
Viewers,
right.
we were having discussions with Professor Peter Quartey, the director of ISE at the University of Ghana, on managing teaching, learning, and research during COVID-19. You can join the discussion on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on our YouTube channels. Thank you for joining us in this meeting. Thank you, everybody, and be safe.